I'm Brandon Gonez, Toronto's realest news reporter. You're tuning in to We Love Hip Hop. That works for you guys?
East End Clips on the beat.
Perfect. Yo, man. Oh, and just to let you know, we pre-record everything, so we're gonna be putting this out later. All right.
Sounds good. Yeah, you'll let me know when that time is.
Okay, dope. Yes. So we got Brandon Gonez, CP24 reporter Brandon Gonez in the building. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? For so many residents of this city, the news comes at the perfect time as this heat wave continues to grip Toronto.
Yo, thank you for doing this with us, dog. It's just like...
Thank you, for real.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciated.
Yes.
No, I'm honored to be a part of it. I love what you guys are doing and the vibe you guys are bringing to the city and the platform you guys are creating for artists from the city. So I'm happy to be able to be a part of this.
Yo, dude, you know, like, for me personally, I'm a CP24 junkie. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Oh my.
His TV don't change from that channel.
Like
When
never.
I'm not watching YouTube, when I go back to cable, I'm watching y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My bedroom TV's burnt. Screen is burnt. CP24. It's not an LED. It's an old school plasma, so it's burnt in from leaving it on.
Amen.
You can see the outline of the CP24.
That's
The boxes. Yeah, the burnt in. It's burnt in.
Oh,
I
man.
love it.
So, okay. First thing, I just want to just jump in because you're a frontline worker, right? With being...
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, because as this pandemic started, y'all were still out there interviewing people, talking to people in public. I seen the microphone stick get longer and longer. So it's like y'all never stopped working. You're in the front line, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel dealing with that? Like, do you ever get afraid of catching like the vid and stuff like that?
You know, it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first just because of the fact that we didn't know what this was that was coming out here. You know, like everybody was like, okay, there's the virus, but nobody knew a lot about the virus. So when it began, there were safety protocols put in place, but right off like the jump, you know, the government labeled us as essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, you go into this profession knowing that news don't stop.
Yeah.
Never, you know? And if there's people that are always going to be out there doing something, it's news people, because at the end of the day, when folks need to hunker down inside, we have to be outside to tell you exactly what's happening. So sometimes you just have to put those fears in the background and just know why you went into this and just try to do your best to protect yourself.
Yeah. Did he make all y'all get tested?
You know, no, we haven't gotten tested because it wasn't mandatory for us to get tested, but they did implement new protocols where we couldn't be driving in the same vehicle as our camera operator, for example.
Wow.
If you're in studio, you're not sitting beside somebody that's within 6 feet, even like on camera. You have to make sure that there's that degree of separation.
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
Any y'all got anything before I shoot another question?
So has the dynamic like changed in the off, like in, I know you're really outside in the field type of thing, but when you're inside, like, has it really changed? Are you guys all keeping like distant even when you're off camera, or are you like getting together around a table and having lunch together nonetheless? You know what I mean? Because you're still in the same like building, right?
So here's the interesting thing. So for our operations, we actually divided our crews between inside and outside. So once this all began and really like took hold, my crew, myself, and a few other people were dedicated as outside. So I haven't been in our studio since February or something like that.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do you feel about that?
You know what? I actually don't mind it because I'm outside. I'm outside, and the company has equipped each and every person with a vehicle. So before we would travel in the same vehicle as our camera operators, but not anymore. So it really is. I feel like I'm actually safer being outside, away from everybody, and yeah, you have a bit more freedom.
Right.
I'm not going to go into too many
100%.
details about that, but you have a bit more freedom.
100%. I understand exactly where you're coming from. So that's good.
Yeah, and like you've been with them for a while. Like I've been digging through your Instagram page and stuff like that, and I seen like January 2017 is when you joined CP24. January.
Yeah, so January 2017. That's when I joined.
2019. Sorry.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I started it in that building at 299 Queen Street West. I think it was 2016. 2016 or 2017. I can't remember the exact year, but it was on a different show. And then I transferred over to CP24.
What was your
January
previous 2019.
show? So that was Your Morning on CTV, and that's with Anne-Marie Meadowake and Ben Mulrooney.
Right.
Yeah, so like that.
You didn't want Ben Mulrooney's job though. You didn't want to
That's
take
what I was
that
gonna say.
job.
How do you
Like,
feel
what
about Ben stepping down? Like,
Ben is doing a great job in his current role, and I'm doing a great job in mine.
but he's
all right.
he stepped down though.
That's a good
He
answer.
stepped down and opened the door. Didn't he step down to open the door?
He did step down for one of his shows, which is E-Talk, but he's still co-hosting Your Morning.
Oh,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But we like you over on CP24 anyways.
All right.
I like how you deal with the public and excuse me, sir, you're doing too much. That was a moment to say the least.
Classic.
This message, excuse me, you're doing too much. And to highlight just how serious this message is, these protests, like
And you know
Go
what
on.
was really interesting about that moment? Before everything kind of took hold at that moment, I was actually really, I don't want to use the word pissed because usually you can't say that on TV, but we're not on TV.
No, we're only on YouTube here. That's okay. You
Perfect.
use that.
Safe space, bro. You're good to go.
Hold on. Not only. This is still a massive platform.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about YouTube.
But
Won't get
it
into
was
YouTube,
just,
but
we'll get there. We have some time. But no, it was like and then like I was kind of pissed because it was my last hit of a 12-hour day. I had agreed to do overtime because I started covering that protest when it began at 12, and originally I was supposed to finish at 3, but the protest went longer than we anticipated, and so I didn't want to hand over the story to another person due to the fact that I was covering it from the jump, and I wanted to make sure that I did justice right to the end, which was right up until 6 o'clock. So when that guy tried to impede me, that was my last hit at 5:30. And our big shows on CP24 is the breakfast show and our 5 o'clock show.
Right.
And because that's when we have the most viewers. So you really want to make sure you're giving it your all during those time periods. All the time you want to give it your all, but in those specific time periods, you want to make sure that you're hammering down the points that you want the viewer to get.
Yeah.
So that was like my last hit, and I put in a lot of work. I was tired, dead tired, and it was the last part of the hit. And this, questionable character,
was a good word. I like that.
tried to just impede a moment that was not even about me per se, but it was about explaining why these people have been standing out here for more than 6 hours. And what does this term of defund the police, what does that look like? For many people who've been not focusing on what's been happening, they hear defund the police and they look at it as they might have their own preconceived notions about what that is about. But this was a moment to try to explain to folks who might not understand that term what these protesters have been trying to say about what they want to see done. And so for me, I was just pissed that this guy was taken away from a moment that was not about him at all.
100.
And so that passion, or I guess that sternness, was kind of like, get the F out of here.
No, it was the proper way to deal with it.
It was
That was
great.
the proper way to deal with it.
Some of that B-Town came out.
Brampton Badman.
But I should say, as you guys know, I was raised in Brampton, but I was actually born in Hercs.
Rex.
Etobicoke General.
The Etobicoke General from time, yes.
That's what's up. Look at that.
Wow.
So,
I was
Brampton, but never forget Rexdale either.
No, you can't forget the Rex.
That's
So
what's
Jamestown or Mount Olive, or just in the general area?
Well, actually, I lived in Stovetop for a little while. So
Okay, so let's do that. Let's go through that history. Like you.
Well, we can't go too deep. We can't go too deep.
Not trying to. We got some things we got to keep it in the closet still. They got to stay hidden a little bit.
Yeah.
Can't get too much.
Exactly.
Well, you made the move at what age from Rexdale to Brampton, or your parents?
I moved to Brampton, grade 6 or 7. I can't even remember. Grade 6 or 7, and it was like Brampton in those days were totally different. Like the 410 ended at what, Queen, or was it just ending at Beauvard? Beauvard was like, Beauvard was like a one-way street in each direction with farmland. Like it was not what you see today. It was totally different.
It's come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's come a long way.
And why the move?
It's changed a lot. It was just, my family, they purchased a house out there, and it was, about just being able to have a bit more freedom, and the suburbs were a quieter place. So, yeah.
Yeah. From what I'm seeing,
I gotta
go Guttz.
What were you listening to at that time? Music.
What was I listening to?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been the early 2000s. So that was like the 50 Cent era, So there was a lot of that. That was a lot of thug rap,
Any
we were listening to.
Any Canadian stuff?
Canadians. I mean, Cardi, of course, you're listening to a bit of that, but I'll be honest. Like those days, it was all BET that you're watching. Much music, you're only watching like Much on Demand is like it was the only show, but like BET was like what was on in the house, unless my mom was saying that's enough and it was time to go to church.
Okay. All right.
You have siblings?
It's true. It's true.
You have siblings?
Yeah. I'm the middle of 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got an older brother and a younger sister, right?
Yeah, you did your homework.
Nardwar over there.
Yeah. I was like, it's so funny because I was about to say, so your sister's the younger one and your brother is the older one. So how did it feel to grow up in that dynamic? Being the middle child, did you feel like you were able to like do what you wanted because you were in the middle, or were you like super sheltered? Like how was that being like the middle child? Because everybody has a different experience being the middle kid, right?
Yeah, so my middle child experience was interesting in the fact that all my siblings were 1 year apart.
Oh my god!
Wow. So yeah,
you guys are like, you guys are all like the same age.
Basically. So when you factor that in, you're going through like elementary school together, high school together. It's like everybody hormones together. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. It's a lot. So for me, I needed to like when I went to high school, I went to a different high school than my siblings because I wanted just my own space and. Yeah,
your own identity.
That's exactly what I wanted. Just my own space.
My own space. Like,
Sure.
Do your thing. What high school in Brampton did you go to by?
So technically, my high school wasn't located in Brampton. It was located in Caledon. It was right on the border.
Oh, okay.
So I went to Mayfield Secondary School, which is actually a Hercs high school.
You said an arts high school? Is that what you said? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. I was going to ask you if you played sports, took art. What did you do? Like, what was your like thing for high school? Like, what was your main focus?
Is that where you picked up tennis? Sorry.
No, so I actually loved tennis just growing up. Like I would always watch like Venus and Serena go at it, and I always thought like, wow, like these are 2 siblings and 2 sisters, and they're black, and like they are like the fiercest in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I always loved Venus a little bit more than Serena. Just growing up, I don't know why there was just something about Venus, but she could never win. She could never win. So
she was the underdog.
Yeah, she was an underdog, so I had to jump over to Serena's bandwagon, especially after she retired. But I always loved basketball, and I was always kind of into acting a little bit. Like I always like to watch. Like I love the acting profession, so that's actually what I went to Mayfield for, was for drama.
Nice.
Okay, nice.
Drama.
Yeah. Nice.
Drama.
Are you
like
in
drama.
movies?
Sorry?
Are you in movies? Are you in TV shows? Do you have any like actual roles in anything of that nature? Other than, CP24 is a big role, you know what I mean? But if you want a reel. But I'm like, are you actually faking it anywhere else? That's the question.
I got into it just a little bit. I dipped into it. So I did a few TV shows just when I was like late high school, early university. Okay. But I put it to bed, to be honest, just because I didn't really, as much as I liked acting in terms of watching shows and watching movies, I didn't actually like acting because it felt like I just want to be myself. So and all the roles that are out there, especially at the time when I was auditioning, were like Young Thug or this person who's breaking into something, and I'm like, what? No. I'm not here to portray that, and that's not me. So yeah, I just put that to bed.
Okay.
So then you picked up journalism instead of
So
the
I
acting?
picked up journalism. Exactly. Yeah. And that was just based when I was in university. Initially, I had gone to university for business. Yeah, it was totally different stream. And while I was at university, I realized that I liked business, but I didn't love business. But I did like asking people questions, and I liked I loved telling people stories. So I started like a little online thing with one of my best friends, and that's kind of where my passion grew. And then by the end of university, I had switched streams to communications, and then did a joint program with Seneca College for journalism.
Nice.
That show that online thing that you did with your friends, Chris Brand's show.
Oh my gosh, you really did hear. Is that still? Hold on, is that still online?
I don't.
Yes.
You know what? I don't
It
know.
is.
I was
It
doing
is.
some digging, but I didn't find the actual video itself.
Can I be a star in it? This is Chris Brands Tonight.
But I
I
probably
found
will. You found it?
We're gonna have to make sure
I
to
did
take
find
it
it.
down.
I'll send you the link.
Just make sure to take it down.
So
Don't
explain
do that.
show. What was that show about?
It was honestly okay. That idea came out of nowhere. We were literally. So I went to York University, by the way. So shout out to York U and all the York U alumni, because no matter what they try to say about our school is dope, and our school hits. Okay, so just putting that out there.
I heard that. I heard that.
Oh, sounds like some not sorority,
Fraternity beef.
fraternity beef. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Just, like we're gonna steal your mascot.
Who's gonna steal our mascot?
No, that's what it sounds like. Like,
okay.
right? That's not what it sounds like on some rivalry.
He was like,
that.
what? He was like, well, nobody's
Wait, yeah,
stealing
he's like,
anybody's
no one's taking
mascot.
our
Like,
mascot.
walk
No,
on
no,
here.
no. I'll go right for that right now. You took the mascot. No. Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, what was the question again, sir?
So with the Chris Brand show.
Oh right, yes. That just came out of nowhere, to be honest. Like it was like deep in the winter. It was like first semester university, and like most university students will tell you, like you get the university blues. Most of them, not everybody, but you come from like a high school, and then you go into this massive place where you're just a number, and you're like trying to figure out the world and figure out what you're doing here. And so we just kind of said, you want to just start shooting some stuff, and we'll go downtown and just start asking people random questions. And that's just kind of how it grew. It was just like, okay, we'll just call this, we just joined our names together, and we just called it Chris Brands Tonight. And we had a friend who was good at video, like using the camera, and he followed us around. We asked people questions, we edited, and we just put it online.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's like how it starts, right?
Yeah.
It starts on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
put
it
up
starts on YouTube. Yeah.
And who knows where it's gonna go from there, right?
Exactly.
That's how we start. That's what we did almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to Terrace BC?
So Terrace BC, that was how that all unfolded was quite interesting. So after I finished university and college, I had gone to Europe for a month with one of my friends just to like let loose and have some fun. And then when I had gotten back, I started applying for jobs, and that was one of the first place that replied back to me after I sent my demo. And the news director there, we did the interview process, and he hired me off the spot. And I was like, okay, I just accepted it because I was I just wanted to get into the industry. And I remember my professor in university, in college, said that, listen, whenever you get your first offer, just accept it. It doesn't matter where it is. Just go get your feet wet, and you want to get your experience, and you want to begin learning, because a lot of people go into broadcasting, especially if you're from the GTA, everybody wants to start off in Toronto, but nobody starts off in Toronto. It's the largest market in the country. So you have to go outside of Toronto. And so for me, that first opportunity was in Northern BC. So that's what brought me out there.
So what was it like to uproot your life and go to BC?
Well, I mean, when you're when
It
you're
sounds
from
like a
region of-
story.
yeah,
Yeah, that big inhale was
Yeah.
because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'll be honest. I'd never been west of Ontario before I left. So everything that I was learning about this place was from Wikipedia and from just doing my research online. And so when I found out I was moving to a town of like 5,000 people, I was like, okay, this will be interesting. So
definitely.
my mom helped me pack my 2 suitcases and my 3 hand luggages, and I purchased my ticket. It took 2 flights to get there, 2 plane rides to get there, and landed in northern BC 9 hours later.
Crazy.
Wow. Could you imagine if you tried to take the train though?
That's not even an option.
Okay.
Oh
There
wow.
you go.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not even
Crazy.
an option. Yeah.
So how
really
old
have
were
to
you at
fly.
that time, if you don't mind me asking?
At the time, I just graduated, so I would have been I was 21 or 22.
Oh wow.
21 or 22. I can't remember. I want to say 21.
Wow.
I want to say
Wow.
21.
Yeah.
Or just turned 22. Or just turned 22. One of those two.
But still, nonetheless, you were still in your early 20s.
Yeah. One of our guests that we just had on, like a legend, also in the broadcasting game, George Strombo.
Mm-hmm.
He was in
yeah.
BC when he started his broadcasting career. All right.
Yeah.
And he told us a story about they didn't want him to use his ethnic name.
Wow.
Right.
And you know that's so interesting. Full circle moment. So when my buddy and I, we were doing that YouTube show, George Strombo was one of the guests that we got on to that show, actually.
Nice.
So he's actually a genuine guy. Like, he gave like 2 students an opportunity to interview him. So most people don't do that because for various reasons. But like when he did that, I was like, oh wow, the fact that you made time for that and you're like this big name in this country shows that you're a cool guy. And he's from Malton.
And imagine he doesn't feel like he's a big name. He
Yeah.
doesn't feel like he's a famous person. Like, he's not famous.
I don't have
He
celebrity. It's not celebrity. It's
Profile.
profile. There you go. Profile versus celebrity. He has a profile. He's not a celebrity. And that's an amazing way to think about it if you think about it, right? And he's an awesome guy. Like, just talking to him in that quick 2 seconds that I met him on the street, awesome guy. Awesome. I was like starstruck for a second, like, oh man, and I couldn't barely get the name out, but I did. But yeah, it was awesome. That was big for our show also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so also you worked for Global at one point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For real?
So I have a 2-part question for that.
I've been
So
around.
high pitch.
I was like, damn.
I've been around. I've been around.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
made some moves.
And he's working. Man's working.
Sorry, I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, global. All right.
All right, so I got a 2-part question for you based on Global. One, what was it like working at Global? And 2, was it a scary move making the move over from Global over to Bell Media?
So the station that I worked for in Northern BC was a Bell Media owned station. So that was really cool to be part of the Bell Media network because of how big it is and how prominent it is, especially in Ontario, in like the GTA. But after I had left Northern BC, I got a gig in Regina, Saskatchewan. And that was where I worked for Global.
Okay.
And so it was a little bit, I was a bit nervous because while I watched Global a little bit, like growing up, especially after Young and the Restless with my grandma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You know that,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Whoa.
General Hospital.
Yes.
All of those soap
all of that.
operas.
What about Passions? What happened to Passions? Anybody
No,
ever
that was
watched
fire.
man.
Charity.
Yeah.
Charity and Miguel and
Yeah.
We
Tommy, all
sidetracked
of
it
them.
now.
Sorry.
They were a
Sidetracked
hot
it
mess.
now. They
Hot
were though.
mess.
And
It was
Tabitha.
really bad.
And Tabitha.
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 That witch was kind of crazy. That was
Oh
wild.
my goodness.
So hold on.
Sorry,
so hold on.
Friday.
Days of Our Lives is not getting no love.
Of course, but
No,
it was just on a
So
different
what about
channel.
All My Children?
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Come on,
sidetracking
there's a
on
bag of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
operas.
We're
Also
showing our
on a
age and we're
different, guys, also on a different channel. We're talking about CTV,
Yes,
what
I
came
know.
on that, and
Yeah.
Global. That's
But
it. Those are the
it's
two
just
channels
the-
we're talking about right now.
But it's just the fact that he said watching the soap operas with his grandmother because that's
yeah,
what my
but Global
mom used
News
to do.
came on. But
Yeah,
remember,
I
Global
know.
News came on after Young and the Restless.
Right after Young and the Restless.
But
right
go
after.
on,
Right?
go.
I understand
ahead.
that. I understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go on, Brandon.
Yeah, please go on, Brandon.
Oh yeah. So when I got that opportunity, it was like, oh wow, I'm gonna be working for Global News, because I used to watch that so much growing up right after Young and the Restless. So I had joined them, and it was a totally different way of doing things. Saskatchewan, like Regina, is considered like a medium small market in this country, so it was a good step up from where I was before. And like Regina is a city of 200,000 people, and you get a direct flight from Regina to Toronto. So no more paying like $750 for a plane ticket from like Terrace to Toronto. You know, the ticket price is now like $300, $350. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Yeah. It was a big 100%. Deal. Yeah. No layover in Vancouver. You could go direct to Toronto. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, versus a 9-hour flight for sure.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit with just those two places out west, right? When we were when I was asking about Strobel, because of his whole getting asked that, have you ever dealt with any racism out there? Because there's barely any black people when you start going out west, fam.
5,000 people. You must have stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean, so before Terrace, I was in Smithers, which is just it's about an hour and a half. Yeah,
I've been to these places. It's crazy. Keep going.
And Smithers, like the black population in Smithers, I think is like 1.5. There's a really, really great Afro-Cuban artist who lives out there. His name is Alex Cuba. Have you guys ever heard of him? Alex Cuba?
It sounds familiar, to be quite honest. Like it probably popped up in my title feed, so it's
check
very
him
possible.
out. I believe he's either a Grammy nominated or he's a Grammy winner. He's one of those things. But like his music is actually really, really good. But he was like the only other black person out there that I met, and it was an eye opener experience. Would I say I experienced overt racism? I wouldn't say I experienced overt racism, but you could definitely tell who was comfortable around you, who was excited to have like this bit of diversity in the town, and who was just not comfortable whatsoever. You know, so it's one of those things where you know how to act because that's how you're trained and that's how you're brought up as being black, and you do what you're there to do. At the end of the day, nobody's going to stop you from, you know, doing you unless you allow them to stop you. You're going to still proceed on. You're going to proceed forward, and if you don't like it, change the channel.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Facto. So like, you're like one of the only black reporters in the game. This is why we gravitate towards you so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when we see CP24 and we see us being represented, it's like, oh shit, that's one of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, do you deal with any obstacles, you know, like navigating through the media, like being like, you know, white dominated space?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, especially when you're in it and you start to see that newsrooms all over this country kind of look the same, which is not okay, especially when you're going into cities that are really, really diverse.
Yeah.
And I also just want to shout out one of my like best friends. He's also a reporter. His name is Brandon Rowe. He works for City News.
Yes, he does.
Young black guy. Same complexion, same height. The only difference is that he wears glasses. But he's a great guy, and we work together in Barrie. So
shout him out.
Shout him out, because out of there's not a lot of there's hardly any young black guys, and I think we're the only two in the city right now in our age bracket doing it. So like I just wanted to shout him out. But yeah, it is difficult navigating for the fact that a lot of times we're pitching stories, especially if you're whether you're a reporter or anchor, doesn't matter. You're continuously pitching stories to your assignment desk, to your news desk. And at the end of the day, because I'm not a white person and because I come from a disenfranchised racial group, there are stories that hit me hard, or stories that I see that other people in that newsroom, in a newsroom may not see. Right. The difficulty though is sometimes people, when you're judging what is more important in terms of news value, that's where biases come into play. Because if you're not personally affected by that doesn't mean you can't relate to it, or you can't say like this is an important thing that we need to broadcast. But sometimes it doesn't hit the same way, and you're not able to, in my point of view, level the complexities of different stories and the need to tell certain stories. So a lot of times what black people in media are constantly fighting up against is pitching our stories and also explaining the relevance and the importance of why we need to say these stories. So, for your viewers who might be watching this, a lot of times, many of them might be saying, hey, we tagged so-and-so and they called us and they said that, they're going to put this story forward, and they might be disappointed. They might be wondering, why is this station not covering the story, or why aren't Black people in media doing more to cover the story? No, we are doing as much as we can, but you just please know behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff that people don't see, and there's a lot of conversations, a lot of battles that are happening. So just bear with us is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's good to know, though. That's good to know that you're going through the same struggles that everybody else is going through, and it's not that it's being pushed on the back burner. It's just you're going through the same struggles that we would be going through if you weren't a reporter. So it's good to tell people that. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Even moving around, I see right now one of your colleagues, Kayla Williams, she just scored the anchor seat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So is that a coveted position in newsrooms, to get the anchor job?
It all depends, to be honest. Some people have ambitions to be a sit-down anchor. So other people have ambitions to be field reporter. Other people have ambitions to be a host. So there's a variety of positions that people aim to get. So for Kayla in particular, I don't want to speak on her behalf, but I do know that is something that she was working towards. So to see her finally get that opportunity and get that chance and to do it extremely well was very, 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 very nice to see. And she's well deserving of that.
100%
of that opportunity. So KW, if you're watching,
we'll make sure to tag her when we put this clip of it on Instagram. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Yeah.
Trust me.
Sorry, Freddie. Sidetrack. No sidetrack. I really like your sweater.
Oh, thank you.
I really like it.
Do you mind if I do another quick shout out? This is See You Soon Toronto. It's an initiative by Tyrone Edwards, Mr. Love 1TO. And it's basically all the proceeds from this drip, they go towards feeding frontline healthcare workers who have been obviously going nonstop since this pandemic began. So I just wanted to show a bit of support to his initiative as well.
Amazing. I love it. I have to get one. It's really nice. I love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Shout out to Rex, yo. You know what I'm saying?
I got a quick question to go back a little bit. Growing up in Rex and Brampton, how did you keep up from all the nonsense going on? How did you keep away from that, should I say?
Oh, wow. You know what? I would say it's all about really good parenting and having a strict mom, a strict grandmother, and a lot of church.
Yeah.
I was a big church boy growing up.
That's what's up. Were you in the choir?
Yeah, I was in the junior choir. Definitely not a singer, so please don't have any thoughts about that. Right. But yeah, was in the choir. We had all different little functions and stuff like that. So that helps you to keep out of, I guess, I don't want to say trouble, but out of questionable circumstances that could arise.
Yeah.
Just due to the fact that, certain neighborhoods unfortunately draw that type of stuff. Not to no fault of their own, but just to the dynamics of the situations.
And even with that too, y'all, because I see through your Instagram, you show a lot of love to your mom, Dukes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just shooting at the wind, figuring that it might have been a single family household, a single parent household, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, personal question: what happened with Pop Dukes, and how was that being just men in the house and one woman and one other woman, and being your mom?
Yeah, so my dad passed away from cancer when I was younger.
Sorry to hear
when
that.
we were all pretty young.
Sorry to hear that.
Condolences.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was that's just the cards that you're dealt with, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to just work with what you're dealt with. And all props to my mom, who's she had 3 kids and she put them first. She put them first ahead of herself in every single situation. And so now that I'm capable and I'm able, I will show her love any moment that I can.
She must
100.
be crazy proud of you to see you on TV, dude.
What's your background?
Jamaican.
Oh yeah.
Bah, so
you
proud.
know
Oh my
Wagwan.
god.
You know Wagwan already.
The proudest people ever. Oh my god.
Wow.
The
And
proudest,
you know
the
what?
best, the most supportive.
Mhm.
You can't go wrong. You
I
can't
have
go
to
wrong.
give you a
Did she,
clap
like-
one more time.
Did she like record your first like broadcast and like send it to everybody she possibly could?
She didn't have to. Everybody else was doing that.
All right.
You know his side of the
Amazing.
island knows Wagwan already. His side
But
of the
hold
island
on.
where he comes from, they know.
And also, yeah, well, that's the question I wanted to ask you guys. Which part of the islands are your family from?
Jamaica.
I'm born Canadian, but I have family in Jamaica, Saint
Okay.
Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth. Okay.
Can't tell by my complexion.
We'd swear you were Scotian still. No distance.
Well, I'm half Scotian also, so
we weren't wrong.
I got
anyways,
the best of both worlds, Jamaican and Scotian. You know what I'm saying? So,
I got that Barbados and Guyanese in me.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom's from Barbados and my dad's from Ghana.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So I got the African blood.
heritage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Quick
It's okay, Friday. Like you want to be like the pure, you know? We just over here just from the, you know, we're in the island like, oh, all right, cool. We were like, yeah, West Indian. Friday came and said, yeah, my dad's
from the motherland.
We all from the motherland.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Let me ask you a quick music question. Because you were saying that you were listening to 50 and stuff like that. What are you listening to now? Like, what motivates you to before you go to the newsroom and stuff like that?
Okay, so my music choice right now is completely different from when I was growing up. Mind you, I mean, that's what, like, 50 Cent and all of that was my own personal choice, but, like, what I was hearing in the house was a lot of, like, especially when we lived, like, grew up in Rexdale, in an apartment, was all the divas. So you had Whitney Houston, you had Mariah Carey, you had Celine Dion, like, you know, all Jamaican households, like, you know, they start busting those tracks, you know.
You know Celine Dion is your aunt. Behave.
Exactly, right?
That's your auntie. Mm-hmm.
So that's what, you know, I grew up a lot of that music. Obviously a lot of reggae and dance hall and stuff like that, especially old school reggae. Like you put that on and my family just goes wild. But right now, my favorite artist, and I say this all the time, and anybody who knows me knows this, is Frank Ocean.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, like, when he first came out, and that was that was when I was in university. I was like, his music was just, it was just on a different level of R&B, you know. It just hit differently. And so even though he does not treat his fans properly in terms of releasing albums every single year, because we seem to have to wait every 5 years, he's still one of my favorite artists. But I also really like, I'm really into Afrobeats right now.
Okay.
Nice.
That gives me a lot of energy. And I like Black. Do you guys listen to Black?
6 Black.
Yes. Did you listen to his new EP?
No, I haven't gotten on there yet. So I'm going to get on that just now. But East Atlanta Love Letter is still one of my favorite albums. And I'm not a depressed person. I'm just going to put that out there because I know that entire album is quite depressing. But he's just a good storyteller, you know? And like his lyrics, it's just, they hit. And Drake, of course, obviously love Drake as well. But
anybody else from Toronto?
Or anybody else maybe we don't know about, like maybe somebody like underground.
From Toronto or just anywhere?
Anywhere in general.
Anywhere, yeah.
Toronto first, and then give me anywhere.
Okay, so from Toronto, I mean, so I especially since quarantine began, I really got onto Tory Lanez. Always listened to him, but I would never say I was like a huge fan. But I've definitely come around. Like his music is in all over my playlist nonstop, and he's a Brampton man, so you know, gotta show love to him at the same time.
You sure it wasn't that quarantine radio?
Quarantine.
That might have helped just a little bit.
I don't know if I tuned into any of that.
Good answer.
I like this guy.
I was like that too when it came to Tory Lanez also. And then we went to a show, seen him live perform. That was it. I was like, yo, this guy's on it. He's on one. Yo, I'm a fan. 100.
Yeah, it's just he has a good sound, and just how he remixes things is just really, really nice. And the fact that he still reps Brampton, you know, I gotta give it up to him for that. Love Division as well.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I think anybody they'd make a particular type of sound in music for a particular type of circumstance, and it's some good tracks. What I've been listening to recently, he's not from Toronto, he's from New York, Lil TJ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And I really like his sound. So I got a couple of his tracks all over my playlist as well. So those are kind of the artists I've been kind of really been diving deeper into. But I'm always open to new suggestions. I love when, like, I'm the type of guy on my Insta stories. Anytime I hear a good track that hits, I'll just post it. And then I hope that people will kind of send other suggestions too, because that's how you find out about, new artists and stuff like that.
Yo, let's all give him one.
What, a new artist?
You have one?
Yeah, I'll write it down right now.
From Toronto, I'll give you Black of the Dawn.
Black of the Dawn, okay.
Yeah,
Black of the Dawn. Yeah, I can co-sign that.
From Toronto, I'm a rep for the females, and I'm gonna give it to Luna.
Luna, okay. I've heard of Luna before. Yeah,
Luna Soleil, because I feel like she hasn't let me down yet. And I'm like, so far, everything that I've heard, it's been consistent right now. And I appreciate her for the consistency that she's putting in right now. Hopefully she stays consistent. But I would say listen to her things. Like, listen to her music. She's getting really good.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Well, I would say Edmonton, DBX2, and Money Mitch. You know what I'm saying? But they're on some trap stuff over there. Like, they're on some real traps. So just be wary. Just be wary.
Okay.
Just be wary. That's all.
Sometimes you gotta get hyped before you go into a newsroom. You know, you gotta be ready for your day.
Even right before a workout is good too.
That's
okay.
Exactly.
So
that's
this is okay. DBX2, intro into my life.
Okay,
taking that track.
Down. Yeah. You know who I also forgot to shout out, because I'm a big R&B type of guy. I want to shout out Anders.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's so good. Yeah, so I just see him really elevating within the next few years. So I can't wait to see kind of his trajectory, to be honest.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
We didn't get your suggestion Friday. Friday, we didn't get yours though.
Check out Trade a Rhyme Animal. You know what I'm saying?
One more time.
TRA the Rhyme Animal. You know what I'm saying? He just dropped something recently, and he'll give you some of that like conspiracy theory knowledge and different stuff like that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's different. It's good.
Mark of the Beast. That's one of Trey's hottest tracks for me. I won't lie.
Yeah. He talks a lot about what's going on now. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
You meet a lot of celebrities.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes. Just downplay that. Yeah? Sometimes.
We asked this to Strombo also. Have you ever gotten starstruck from meeting a celebrity?
Have I ever got? Okay. I don't know if I would say I gotten starstruck, but I definitely got a bit nervous for one in particular.
Who was that?
And that was Michael B. Jordan.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Killmonger.
Yo.
My goodness.
Yo. I was watching the Wallace. I was watching The Wire. I was watching The Wire today. Where's Wallace? We're supposed to be boys.
Sorry, Friday, but I was like, that one touched my whole heart. I was like, oh my God, I fell on my face.
That one got you, right?
Yeah, I did a little bit. So sorry.
Yeah.
So continue.
But I was nervous because I'm actually a fan of his work, and I just love to. I've from watching him from when he did his first show and just kind of see where he is now. It's like, man, like you got to just give him props.
He's come a long way.
And so when I got to meet him and interview him, he was actually just as nice as I thought he would be. Confined to the space that we were in and with all his PR people and everything like that. But I did the interview with him, and then actually after it wrapped up, we were in the hotel lobby. I was waiting for my ride to come get me, and him and his people had come out because they were going to another event, and he came over and we had a good conversation. And I was just like, as a celebrity, you definitely didn't have to do that, but he took the time to do that. And what we talked about, I'm gonna keep that between him and I, but it was just one of those things where it's like he's a real one.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the event that you were at where you were able to interview him?
So he was actually promoting his new movie, his new Creed movie.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Creed time.
Both of them are sick.
Nice. That's so cool.
Really cool.
He's a good actor, though. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also noticing he's getting more roles that show different levels to him, which is so important, as an actor. So yeah, he's doing well. He's doing really, really well.
That's a dope meeting right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with you, even like you're a celeb to like a celeb in these streets out here. You know what I'm saying? People are watching you.
Oh, I would not say.
No, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. Don't.
You're definitely a celebrity in the street,
bro. You made the shade room, fam.
You made the shade room. You've been on 6 Buzz multiple times. All right. What's your DMs
and he's
like?
verified.
And you're verified.
And he's verified.
All right. You got the blue check. What's your DMs like?
Uncut.
Friday's going for the uncuts.
Hold on, get me in trouble here. We're going deep. We're going deeper than I thought we were gonna go. I thought we were gonna stay in the shallow end. You guys.
We're wading. We're wading to the deep end. We're wading to the deep end.
Deep end.
You know what? Okay, I'll be very, very honest. I'm not the type of person that checks my DMs daily. What I usually do is when I'm posting about a story, and what's so great about the community is that when I need them to come through with information, they come through with information. So in that search for information, and when I'm ever looking for public knowledge about something, that's usually when I'm going through the DMs and.
You notice how you just stopped. Eh? That's when I go to you know what's going on in the DMs. It goes down in the DMs.
Interesting place.
It's an interesting place. Okay, give us one little tidbit. What's the weirdest? Not even just what's the weirdest request you've gotten in a DM?
I can't say that publicly.
You still got to go back to work.
I can't say that publicly, but I mean, if you're thinking it, it's probably
it's probably happened.
So,
or sent.
should we try to slow down your DMs and ask you just one more question? Like, are you single? Are you looking for these DMs? All walk one, because I'm sure we're all trying to figure out all walk one.
Yeah, I know. Right, you
guys are really putting me in the fire. Eh?
I don't have my sound effects on today.
That's an uncut thing, That's an uncut question a little bit.
The people want to know. The people out here want to know what's going on.
We still kind of need to know, So it should continue to slide or stop sliding at the DM. That's what we're trying to figure out a little bit,
This is what I'm gonna say. Because I am quite a private guy, but I'm happy.
Okay.
All right.
Say less, fam.
That's basically. I'm not telling you nothing, eh? You're not getting me caught up in nothing, eh?
Oh man.
Just know, I know myself. I work on television, eh? No. No, I'll power to you though. 100%.
Yeah, man.
I like that one. That's a good answer. I don't think anybody's answered like that. I'm gonna pin that one next time somebody asks me that. I'll be like,
she's gonna pin that one.
I'm happy, guys. That's what it is. Pinned.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. That's a great answer, actually.
Yeah.
So to pivot just a little bit, right? Because you're a man who's been in the city, you've seen different ends of the city. You're around doing the news and at different places where things are happening right when they happen, right? And we've asked this question to all of our guests, okay? As far as the way that our city has elevated in the gun violence, right? What do you think that we can do to bring it down? You know what I mean? And I always say we can't stop it, obviously. It's never going to completely stop. But what can we do to bring it down?
It's such a complex issue, gun violence, because it happens for a variety of reasons. But I think at the end of the day, if I look back, in the past and I try to think about why someone, what would entice me to pick up a gun, you have to ask yourself, are there opportunities, for me to look forward to? Because it's when you don't have anything to look forward to, that you turn to something that maybe is providing that opportunity. And for some people, that opportunity, unfortunately, could be in gangs. It could be in other circumstances that they shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
So we have to collectively ask ourselves as a society, are we doing enough to provide opportunities for people who don't feel that they have them? And so I don't know how we fully address that. That's not my area of expertise. But what I do know is that, there are certain parts of this city that don't have the same resources as other parts of this city.
Yes.
Right? You can go to a basketball court in Midtown and they got the mesh up. The court looks brand spanking new, and there's a level of care and that the city puts into it.
Yeah.
And then you go to another part of the city and you look at a basketball court and there's not even a mesh on the rim. The rim is bent to the
rusted.
side. Everything is rusted. And I mean, people might say, well, that's because the community never took care of that. Well, to me, that's a lame excuse and that's a lame comeback, because how I look at it is that if I'm a child and I'm walking around my neighborhood and I'm seeing that my neighborhood looks like that, then how am I going to value myself?
Yeah.
You see, so when I talked about, earlier that, my mom was very strict. She made sure that she brought us to church all the time. She put us first. She made sure that we saw what we needed to be, and that we valued ourselves, even if our circumstances weren't the most ideal, So, not everybody has a parent like that. And that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, that's why we as a society, as a collective, need to ask ourselves, what are we doing to ensure that folks who have been dealt a bad card still have that same level of opportunity to get out of their circumstances? Yeah. Because I don't think we're doing a good job right now. I don't think we're doing a good job. And that's why we're seeing an increase in gun violence. Now, overall crime has actually is going down. But unfortunately, gun violence in itself is something that the city is still struggling with.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
But is the crime going down because of the vid and the quarantine, or is it just overall because crime is going down?
Well, that's been happening over years.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not just a short-term thing. That's just like the stats have just shown crime in the GTA across this country, actually, even in North America, has been trending downward.
Yeah.
Hence why there's
beautiful.
a lot of advocates, and activists saying that, listen, if crime is going down, why are police budgets still going up? So I mean, that's another conversation. That's for another thing, but violent crime, when you talk about gun violence, that's something that has been increasing and has been happening in areas of the city. Areas of the city that may have not ever experienced it. So for people, it may feel that it's happening more, but it may just be happening in places that they weren't happening before.
Yeah.
There's some Toronto ambiance going on right now.
Yeah, again. I'm in the middle of downtown.
That's what we call the sirens, Toronto ambiance.
Give it a quick second.
Right.
Let these sirens pass.
It never seems to fail. We be recording and sirens are going off somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's our city ambiance.
Yeah, it's one of the downsides is recording in the middle of downtown.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, man. So continue what you were saying about the crime rate going down and violent crime going up. I think you're making a really good point at that point.
Yeah. So basically, I was just saying that overall, like when you look at the stats, like crime is down in across North America, including here in Canada, including right here in Toronto. But the thing is, gun crime and violent crimes have been up a little bit. So for many people, the perception is that things have gotten worse.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether one shot is one shot too many. And that's how, whenever I'm reporting, that's how I look at it. It's not about, we only had 50 homicides or, 50, deaths related to gun violence this year compared to 75 last year. At the end of the day, that's still 50 people who died. That's still 50 families that are suffering. Yeah. That's 50 loved ones who are no longer on this earth walking around who could have been productive members of society. So until that number is zero, there's still
way too many.
We still got to do a lot of work. Yeah.
So, but what do you think about them not? I know this defunding the police and stuff, right? But they're asking for 10%, and they basically said no, and then they approved body cameras, which is like they say is going to cost like $55 million. And like, what do you feel like? How do you feel about that? Like with the fact that they could have took that same money and put it right back into the community and help the situation, but they decided no, 10% is too big of a number to take from $1 billion budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know, but the biggest budget item for the city of Toronto is policing. It's a $1.2 billion budget line item. So you ask yourself, when you're paying your property taxes, the majority of those taxes are going towards the police budget. So as citizens, you know, we have to collectively ask ourselves, are we getting the best bang for our buck? And according to activists as part of this movement, many of them believe that we're not. So what they wanted to see and what they were calling for is actually a much deeper cut to the police budget. But this initiative, which was led by Councillor Josh Matlow and Kristen Wong Tam, two councillors in Toronto, they wanted to start at a minimum of 10%.
Okay. So just a minimum of 10%.
Yeah. So that was kind of where they wanted to start and then hopefully build off of that later. But that's where they wanted to start and then redirect those funds to community initiatives and so forth. Unfortunately, the support from council was not there. So they had to dropped that motion. And instead, they tried to put in other things into the mayor's motion, which ultimately passed to help revolutionize the police force. But according to many people, when I interview many activists, that's not what they wanted to see. They did not want to see the police budget increase. They wanted to see it decreased and put that money elsewhere. So, you got to ask yourself at election time: is that what you want? Right. And you ask your councillors, how did you vote? If that's the most pressing issue when you go to the polls, and everybody should. This is why you have to exercise your right to vote. When your city councillor comes up to your door and they leave a flyer, or you see them on the street, and this is the most pressing issue, you ask them, how did you vote? Which way did you vote? And when they tell you if you're satisfied with that answer, if you're not satisfied with that answer, then you determine if that's the person you're going to vote for come election time.
Facts.
That's a good way to decipher that. That's
no, for sure. That's the honest answer. That's the best answer.
Yeah, man.
And anybody looking for a list of councillors who voted for or against?
Yeah, I see the list.
You can find that online.
Yeah, Mayor Tory. Actually, Mayor Tory voted against it. They said was one of the people that voted against it.
Yeah, he was not in favor of cutting the police budget by 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Brandon Gonez dropping the jewels. You know what I'm saying? Listen,
just the facts.
Yeah.
Just the facts.
Just the facts.
Is that your tagline? Is that your tag? Do you have a tagline? Yeah. Do you have a tagline?
I don't, but maybe I should start one. Maybe that's what it is.
Just the facts.
Hashtag.
Excuse me, you're doing too much.
Oh, you took it right out of my mouth, Gutsy. You took it right out of my mouth.
Oh, man. You have to put that on a t-shirt, bro.
Yeah,
we got
or
you.
something like something.
Send the proceeds somewhere, but that has to go on a shirt.
Yeah,
you know what? I never thought about that, but maybe I'll look into that, and then maybe we can support like a especially because of the times that we're living in right now. But maybe a Black-led organization that's trying to help the community. I'm gonna look into that. That's a great idea.
100%.
That's
what we do over
that
here.
Right there.
Yeah.
We love hip hop.
Priceless.
We that's what we do. We create ideas. You know what I'm saying?
That man is lucky that you didn't go full Jamaican on him. He's lucky. You were tired. It was he's lucky you didn't go full Jamaican on him and let the yachty.
And it was a hot day too.
Oh, he's lucky.
That day.
Man.
He's lucky.